Howdy, folks. I struck it rich. A former neighbor and good friend gave me 2 bags of Colorado gold ore. He was traveling out west and he must have picked these up at kind of a touristy gift shop. And I dumped them out into the tray here. Looks like they're identical. They both have a similar, if not identical, tag. One side kind of covers some gold facts with the carats and the weight. The other side says this is ore from one of the richest mines in the territory, which had more than double the gold and silver of the famous South African mines. And then it lists some of the big gold rushes in the United States and the different areas in the years. So anyways, he gave them to me and said something like, here, get the gold out of this, or let me know if there's any gold in here. So I don't even know if he was serious, but I thought, well, that would be kind of interesting to do, to see if there's any gold actually in here. Now, there's not much ore. I actually weighed it up. There's about 350 grams. So if this is actually a rich ore, I read this, that would be somewhere around 5 grams per ton. And there's 350 grams here. That works out to 0.000056 troy ounces. So not much at all. So even if I get 100% of the gold out, it's going to be a very small bead. But anyways, I went ahead and kind of racked my brain on what little I know about gold ore and the gold. I really don't know much at all. I've done a little bit of panning for some placer gold, but nothing with ore like this. So anyways, let's take a look at the ore. It's actually not exactly uniform here. Looks like there's a lot of pyrite in there. And so I don't know if they add different things to it to make it look a little interesting. But we can take a closer look. Yeah, quite an assortment of stuff. This is definitely like a pyrite. One piece here has kind of some color to it, some pinkish color. Maybe that's more chalcopyrite. I'd like to try to see if I can first detect any gold, and B, actually separate any out. Who knows? Let's see what we can do. I was kind of going over the possibilities of getting this gold out, and I guess there's more ways than I thought. I kept thinking of different things, so I'm going to write them down just to keep track of them. The first method I thought of was with mercury. That was a common technique. Panners, prospectors would take their concentrates with a lot of maybe flour type gold that was too fine to separate out, and they put mercury in the pan, and that would dissolve the gold, and then they would separate that from all their black sand and everything, and then boil that off, which is kind of an environmental disaster, but excuse me, boil that off to get the gold. So the first one is mercury, and I'm not going to do that. I guess mainly for 2 reasons. One is I don't want to deal with the poison nature of mercury, and 2, I don't have any. So anyways, that's one option, but I'm not going to look at it. Another option is to use cyanide, and that's a big commercial method that they've been using for years. They'll take big heaps of ore and they'll leach a cyanide solution through it and collect that out. It'll dissolve the gold, collect it out, and then precipitate out the gold. I feel a little more comfortable using that, but once again, I don't have any cyanide. I could make some. It doesn't look too difficult, but I think I might pass on that too. But I'll write that down. I came up with 5 of them. The third one I think I was thinking of is to use a flux. You get your ore together and you put a flux in there, often a lead-based flux or some lead, and you heat it up, and the lead, the flux reduces the, if you have some maybe litharge in there, a lead oxide-based flux, you reduce it to lead, and you end up with a lead pellet at the bottom that also has all the precious metals in it, like the gold and platinum and silver and all that. But the lead will absorb it. And then you take that lead button and you put it in a cupel, which is a little special porcelain dish, and you bake it at a very high temperature, and all the lead oxidizes and gets absorbed by that cupel, and you're left with just the gold, a tiny gold bead that was dissolved in that lead. So I guess I'll call that a flux, or lead flux. And I might try that. I've read that you can use just solid lead. I have some like fishing sinkers, and I do have some litharge, so I can make a lead flux. I don't have a high temperature oven, so I might have to either build one, or maybe I can use a torch with a high temperature torch. I'll have to think about that. Another way to get gold into solution is with aqua regia, which is a mixture of hydrochloric and nitric acids. Gold does not dissolve in either one separately, but together it will dissolve. And I think that's used for processing stuff like scraps, jewelry, and maybe a few other items too, when they're going through the process. So that's something I can do. I have both concentrated nitric and hydrochloric acids. There's a lot of rock in here, so it's rock, and so what I might do is try to dissolve as much other material with just plain hydrochloric acid to get maybe acid soluble minerals out of the way, and then add aqua regia to dissolve any of the gold and whatnot. So let me put that down as number 4, and I think I'll remember all of them. And the 5th, I'm not sure if it's used commercially much or not. I think I've seen it used for scrap electronics, and that's using a chlorine-based acid solution to dissolve the gold. The gold will dissolve in a chlorine-rich hydrochloric acid solution, and that's something I can try here too. Those are the 5 that I could think of. There's probably others too, but I didn't really do any research. I just kind of remembered. I'll just put the chlorine here. So these are the 5 different methods that I could think of for separating the gold from the ore. And like I said, I'm not going to worry about the mercury, and not too fond of using the cyanide either, but I'm a little more comfortable doing that. But what might be a good game plan, and what I think I'll start with, is these last 2, and I could do them simultaneously. I'll try to get the gold into solution with the aqua regia and chlorine, and at that point I can actually test to see if it's there. And I can use a stannous chloride indicator solution, which will turn color to kind of a purplish color if there's gold present. So I think that would be a good first step to get some in solution to see if it's there. And then if it is, it might be kind of neat to try to separate something physically out that I can actually see. Unfortunately, there's going to be so little gold here. But what I was thinking is that with these 2, getting into an aqueous solution with these 2, is that maybe what I can do here is actually try to electroplate some out onto something, so I can maybe get a little piece of silver metal of some kind and electroplate some gold onto it. And it wouldn't take much gold to be able to see it. You get a few atoms thickness, and you know, it'll look like it's you know, you'll definitely see a gold color forming after a while. So anyways, so that's, you know, this would be good to detect for gold. Then maybe to electroplate to see it. And actually, people who have watched my other videos are probably tired of hearing about this book, but the Identification and Qualitative Chemical Analysis of Minerals by Ursino Smith actually has an assay method for very small quantities of material. And I think you only use like 0.2 of a gram, so there's, you know, plenty of material here to do that. And he claims, and it's basically a lead flux method, where you add the flux to it, you end up with a lead bead, and then you use a cupel to get rid of the lead, and you're left with a very, very tiny bead of gold. And he claims that even with lean ores that you should be able to get a bead. So it could be down to a 1/1000th of an inch in diameter, and but you should just barely be able to see it with a naked eye. And he says it's going to be there. It might get stuck in a crack, or, you know, you have to be careful, but there's going to be a bead there somewhere. So if you do it right, you should be able to find it. So I might go ahead and do that. But once again, like I said, I'm going to need a either a torch of some kind, or probably preferably a furnace. So I'm going to have to either build or get my hands on one there. So anyways, it'll be interesting. We'll see if there's actually gold in this gold ore that he purchased. I don't know what he paid for them, but anyways, I'm sure it was much more than what the gold content is. But the first step that we need to do with any of these materials is to actually crush this stuff. So that's going to be the next video. That'll be part 2. This is going to be a stepwise process, and I'm going to do a step at a time as I have time, and post them. So if anybody out there has any better ideas, let me know. Otherwise, just keep tuned. It'll probably be, you know, as I get time. So over a period of a few weeks here, I'll be posting videos on how things go. So thanks for watching, and we'll see how much gold we get.